Back with me, Republican pollster Chris Wilson and Democratic strategist Chris Kofinas. So, Chris Wilson, I wonder, as I listen to those iron workers, and we certainly have been going around the country talking to a lot of folks who feel the same way about the president's trade policies, could this be a recipe for Democrats winning back some of those blue-collar voters?
Well, I think time will tell. I mean, look, I first should state before I say it, I am a free trader, and so I have a little bit of discomfort in terms of what the president's doing. Having said that, I think you've also given credit where credit is due, and he has now achieved success in renegotiating with Mexico. I think there's little doubt he's going to achieve success by renegotiating with Canada and give us a better deal than what we had before with NAFTA. If that continues, then I think you're going to see these sorts of policies reverse themselves, and frankly, that leads to a free trade success, and you'll have more free trade between them. He's had the same sort of success with Germany, which gives me hope that he will have similar success when he turns his attention to other countries in Europe. I mean, the one really outlier here is going to be China. China is not a free trade nation. With these other countries, they have free trade rhetoric, so you're really just kind of making their policies match their rhetoric. I think the bigger issue and what you see going on in Washington is just like everything Trump does, he just has a different approach to it. The rhetoric is different. The way in which he handles diplomacy is different. So there's a lot of people who have made their careers on trying to do what he has now achieved who have discomfort with it because they had this sort of, under the Obama administration, this let's be real nice and hope real hard and maybe they'll be nice and cut the prices for it. And that didn't work. And now this is working. And it's like other things that Trump does is that it's just non-traditional. And so, but when he achieves success, I think you've got to give him credit for that.
Chris Kofinas, whoever runs against President Trump on the Democratic side is going to have to win back those voters in places like Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Ohio. Is Chris Wilson right? Is the president making strides that will ultimately keep them on his side?
Well, I would say that the president is clearly trying to appeal to those blue-collar voters that were critical for him to win in those, industrial states. I mean, if you look at a recent Pew poll, it was really interesting, amongst folks that were, had non-college degrees, lower income, they favored, tariffs and the president's policies by about 14 points. It was 52 to 38 versus a significant swing the other way for folks that had college degrees. So there is a, if you will, a bias when we look at this issue, and this is why I think traditionally it has been a really powerful issue for Democrats. The president has clearly tried to co-opt this. I think it is one of the more complicating issues because at the same time you can be tough on trade. I think the president's policies, because of his unpredictable nature, the nature of the way he negotiates, is creating an instability in the market and the economy that's not only adding inflationary pressure, but arguably hurting the very workers he supposedly is trying to help. But in terms of politics, this is where I think this issue becomes really complicating. And I think Democrats shouldn't cede the ground of being tough on trade and tough on other foreign actors when it comes to trade to the president or anyone else. And this notion that somehow we should do that simply because the president is arguably acting tough on trade, I think is just a very bad political strategy.
Chris Kofinas, Chris Wilson, we have a lot more to talk about, so stay with me.